We're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Thibodeau? Here. Alderman Govea is here. Alderman Moran?
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons? Alderman Clements?
Here.
Here. Alderman Cleave's not here.
All right, I'm here too, just so you get that officially.
Oh, yes, Mayor Dodges.
All right, so public comment directed at two items on the agenda. Is there anybody who wants to make public comment? I don't see anyone. Communications. First from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for computer-aided dispatch record management system in the amount not to exceed $1,900,394.40 funded from 81100 capital improvement /55620 subscriptions. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award a 5-year contract for services and subscription with Central Square in the amount not to exceed $1,900,349.40. First year includes the implementation at $312,763.08, which includes $174,146.58 subscription cost in 1 year. Then each year, therefore, for an additional 4 years. Total of 5-year contract. Specified on-site training is included in the implementation cost. Funding will be through Department 150, Police Department Fund 81100 Capital Improvement /55620 subscriptions.
All right, and the record should show that Alderwoman Timmons is now here. Who's going to speak to this? Can you come forward, please? So just approach the microphone, introduce yourself, and give us a short summary of what this purchase is all about.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Rakesh Sharma. I am the IT manager for Nashville Police Department. We are trying to replace a 16-year-old software or records management system that we've been using. That record management system is out of date and overwhelmed. As the policing changes over a decade and more, we needed more features to it. The records itself has blown up significantly, so we need more storage, we need more reliability, we need high availability for the system. That's why we went through the process of RFP suggested by the purchasing department. We got 4 RFPs. We went through rigorous demos and selection process, and Central Square came out to be on top. Cost-wise, reliability-wise, and the ease of transitioning from the old record system to a newer record system.
And this is a 5-year contract?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anybody questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to personal protective equipment in the amount of $107,851.93 funded from 71000 equipment Brian discretionary grant. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 3 bomb suits, 2 helmets, and supplies to interchange a 3rd helmet from ADS in the amount of $107,851.93. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Department Fund 71000 Equipment /Brian discretionary grant.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Robert Powers. I'm with the bomb squad at the police department. This will be a grant purchase with no matching funds for EOD 10 Med-Eng bomb suits from a GSA vendor. Like I said, it includes 3 suits, 2 helmets, and the associated electronic equipment to make the suits function. These will replace our current EOD 9 suits, which are in operation that were purchased in 2013. The recommended serviceability of the old suits is 7 years, so we've been able to stretch the old ones well beyond that. The 10 suit is going to be a primary piece of our safety and operational equipment for public safety bomb technicians, and these suits will provide operational use well into the future.
All right. Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to Eagle View Cloud Software in the amount of $36,498 funded from 53500 aerial imagery services. I'm gonna make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 2-year revised contract for the spring 2024 imagery flyover and associated services with Pictometry International Corp., DBA Eagle View, in the amount of $36,498. That is $18,249 per year. Funding will be through Department 134 GIS, Fund 53500, Aerial Imagery Services.
Mr. Misevich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick Misevich, Chief Information Officer for the City of Nashua. Director Cummings tasked me with obtaining a revised contract for this service due to lack of GIS personnel currently that the city is experiencing. So this is a completely revised contract over previous ones. It was time to get something fresh and updated, make sure it meets the city requirements and as such. The reason why it is a 2-year agreement, there is only one flight done and one flight every 2 years, which is the practice that we have been doing for the past 20 years. But the reason for a 2-year is to keep the operating costs constant year over year in the GIS budget for this service.
Alderman Moran?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to kind of the GIS system to look at the boundary lines and stuff of the property.
This is to take the
Yeah.
aerial photography, which GIS does use, the assessing department does utilize this data when reviewing properties, so they don't necessarily have to go out to the property. They can look at the aerial imagery.
Yes, that was the line of questioning. You got there before I did. May I have a follow-up?
Yes.
So this is used to do estimates on, let's say someone built something that maybe there wasn't a permit in Director Sullivan's, they could use this
Correct.
to determine that some stuff had happened and then also assess them for more taxes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2024 Chevy Tahoe in the amount of $43,126 funded from 81500 vehicle/surf, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of a 2024 Chevy Tahoe, which replaces the 2016 Ford F-150 from McMulkin Chevrolet and New England Vehicle Outfitter in the amount of $43,126. $39,956 from McMulkin and $4,170 from the New England Vehicle Outfitters. Funding will be through Department 157 Citywide Communications, Fund 81500 vehicle/surf.
Mr. Mansfield?
Good evening. Bill Mansfield. I'm the Radio Systems Manager for the city. Before you tonight, we're looking to replace the 2015 Ford F-150 pickup truck with a Chevy Tahoe SUV. We needed some specific requirements that we had to meet because of the type of work that we do throughout the city. The vehicle had to be a 4x4 vehicle. It had to be a large 4-door SUV. The vehicle had to be able to be capable of traveling throughout New England. It could be electric or hybrid, and capable of powering multiple radios, repeaters, battery chargers, emergency lighting, and job-specific 12-volt equipment. When we first proposed this, it was sent to purchasing. The Sustainability Committee had come back to us and asked if a Ford F-150 Lightning would work for our particular job today. We basically said that no, the pickup truck is not something that is conducive to the work that we're doing today compared to what we were doing nearly 10 years ago. So we did contact the police department's fleet maintenance department. We contacted DPW's fleet maintenance department in search of a vehicle, an SUV vehicle that would have been electric or a hybrid that would have been on a larger scale. We could not find anything that was even being made that would meet that standard of being electric or hybrid for that size vehicle. So that's why we ended back up with the Chevy Tahoe, which is on the state bid for the state of New Hampshire with Milken Chevrolet down here in Nashua, so.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to ask that question regarding our ordinance about the EV use, because I received an email earlier today, and others, I can't remember who was on it, from Alderman Jetty to propose that question, but you've already answered it before it was even asked, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I was just trying to
Alderman
get a
Thibodeau.
better appreciation, thank you. I was trying to get a better appreciation for what the vehicle's used for.
So the vehicle's used for transportation of equipment at times. It's used for charging equipment for radios. It's used for repairing tower sites. We have different tower sites throughout the city. This is if I may, Mayor, I do
Yeah.
have some photos of what we're doing currently. This is our current vehicle setup.
And if there's no objection, we'll accept and place on file a copy of the photo that Mr. Mansfield has just distributed.
So what we have been doing most recently, we were working with the fire department at a couple different sites. One being the fire training ground. We worked with the fire hazmat team a couple weeks ago. Basically, we were doing testing on headsets for them, tweaking the headsets when necessary with computers in the back of the car. At the fire ground, the pictures, just so I can give you a better idea, the top picture is actually at the fire ground last week. We're deploying some new software within the fire department that's going to be we're going to be testing it for a few months. And this equipment needs to be powered with electricity. And we also have computers that are connected to it as well, radios that are connected to that. That accountability software is mainly for safety of the firefighters when they're in a burning building or at any type of fire scene. You can see on the second picture, that's the back of the Tahoe that we currently have. We have a large gearbox in there which holds a lot of replacement equipment for when we get called to fix vehicles. Could be a firefighter, he has a bad microphone, so we keep some variety of equipment in there. There's a ladder in the back of the car. There's radio chargers in the back of the car. There are tools in the back of the car for us to maintain all these different things. And then the third picture on the bottom is just another photo with the different computers that we're using in the vehicle. So.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to FY '25 bus vehicle supplies in the amount greater than $25,000 funded from 61799 vehicle parts and supplies, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of various replacement parts from Gillig LLC in the amount greater than $25,000. Funding will be through Department 186 Transportation, Fund 61799 vehicle parts and supplies.
Mr. Sullivan?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee. This is a somewhat unusual request that the committee, I think, sees on occasion from time to time, in the sense that this is actually not a request for approval of a contract in a certain amount. What this actually is under the city's purchasing ordinance, in the event that a city department needs to make aggregate purchases from a specific vendor, perhaps for the reason that it's a sole source vendor, above $25,000, the practice is that PO, that purchase order that's opened beyond $25,000 actually goes before the Finance Committee for approval. And just to be clear what I'm talking about, Gillig, of which the vendor is before you this evening, is the current manufacturer of several of the Transportation Department's buses. Some of the equipment on those buses is proprietary in nature, body panels, that sort of thing. Throughout the year, we intend to spend more than $25,000 with that specific vendor, Gillig, to replace various components of the buses. But again, because we propose to go above 25, it requires Finance Committee approval. So this is not a contract in an amount certain. We simply know that we're going to spend the $25,000 with this specific vendor, and therefore it's subject to your approval this evening. To that end, although there may be questions about the specific uses of the money, it's hard to anticipate exactly what that will look like over the coming fiscal year. It's really on an as-needed basis that we need to make these purchases. Happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. So, my question is, if we approve this tonight, is that like giving you a check to spend more than 25,000 without having to come back to the committee?
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond to that.
Yes.
My understanding, Alderman Clemmons, and I know Amy Gerard is here if there are additional questions. My understanding is that the answer is yes, it authorizes us to spend above and beyond 25. However, I believe that in the event that any single purchase then exceeds that, we may need to revisit this committee for that specific purchase, that $25,000 number. So we expect the aggregate purchases to be less than 25, but if any single purchase is above 25, we may need to come back to the committee. And I don't know if Ms. Gerard agrees with that opinion, but that's my understanding. It looks like she does.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, so this can't be the first time that we've had an issue where we needed to get parts for these buses. How did we do it in the past?
Mr. Mayor, I can't speak to that, Alderman Clemmons. What I can speak to is that when we discussed this with the purchasing department in advance of this year, we put our heads together, if you will, and it was decided that the purchasing ordinances called for the process that we're part of tonight. I don't know in prior years how this was handled. It's possible that in some of those years we didn't anticipate spending more than $25,000, but I can only speak to the request that's before you this evening.
Alderman Clemmons.
Just one question. Can you give us a ballpark of where you think this is gonna be?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Clemmons, I'd be happy to. I anticipate that we probably will spend $50,000 in assorted vehicle parts over the coming year. But again, that's accident dependent, incident dependent. So I truly don't know. In our ideal world, we would spend zero here. We wouldn't have any replacement costs for anything on the buses, but I anticipate we will spend between $25,000 and $50,000.
Alderman Clemmons.
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to amend. To say that, in the amount greater than 25,000, but no more than 50,000. And that's my motion.
Statement, yeah.
All right, so there's a motion to amend. Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with this motion wholeheartedly. It was basically the questions I was going to bring up. There's a big difference between approving 25,000 and spending $1 million, and approving greater than 25,000 and spending 26. And I think that kind of undermines the committee a little bit if we just start going on these. Well, we're going to start approving everything that's going to be greater than. I think this will give us a little bit more control and a little bit more eyes on it. So I think the motion here is, the motion to amend is fair.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you. I would say without this amendment, I would have voted no, because I'm not comfortable approving something without knowing what we're actually going to spend at the end of the day. So I'll support this motion to amend.
So the end of this is that if you go to 50, you come back to the committee again.
And just, if I understand, that 50 is on the aggregate across all purchases
Correct.
with this specific vendor.
Correct.
If I may,
Yes.
I'm concerned about my estimation being used as the cap, and so I would prefer one of two things happen. Either I return to the committee with a more accurate estimate of what that spending amount might be, or that amount be increased, because I don't know the answer off the top of my head of what we think we might spend. So I'm happy to do either of those things, subject to what the committee's will is.
Alderman Govea.
Is this time sensitive?
It's sensitive in the fact that if we don't have this approved before the new fiscal year, that could be a challenge for us. But we have a bit of time on our side. So it's not absolutely critical to have it approved at this meeting, but it would be critical to have it approved at the next Finance Committee meeting.
Alderman Govea.
I move the table.
Do you anticipate anything's going to happen in the next couple of weeks?
No, I think we'll be fine for the next couple of weeks, Mr. Mayor.
Point of order, I think we still, so we're tabling then the motion to amend.
No.
No,
Oh,
the
okay.
whole communication.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So which, as I recall, takes precedence over an amendment. And motion to table, I don't believe is
Non-debatable.
debatable. So all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the matter is tabled
you.
until next time. Next item is a communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to audio recording equipment and maintenance in the amount not to exceed $40,000 funded from 54414 hardware maintenance, I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of audio recording equipment and maintenance for Business Electronics Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $40,000. First year maintenance $20,760. Maintenance agreement $4,186 yearly for 2 years through 5. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue Fund 54414 hardware maintenance.
I'm David Robert, Superintendent of Fire Alarm. This audio recorder records all phone lines, 911, and 8 of our radios. I'm trying to think of the right word here. 8 of our radio channels that are used for operations. We have a recorder that's over 12 years old. It is no longer serviceable by Variant. They stopped servicing that particular model 4 years ago, and we'd like to purchase a new server for it. By using BEI and Variant, the one that we're discussing today, we save a lot of money on licensing. We get to carry all our licensing over. We get to carry some of the original hardware over to the new recorder. These recorders are used for our evidence collection for the marshals. We record all incidences. We use it for training and quality control from our dispatchers. And that's what we're looking for.
All right,
So-
any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is a communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to building condition assessment study in the amount not to exceed $350,000 funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / City Building Trust Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 2-phase building condition assessment study for all Nashua fire rescue facilities with Meng analysis in the amount not to exceed $350,000. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue Fund 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / City Buildings Trust Fund.
And we have the Assistant Chief.
Hi, good evening. Adam Pliot, Assistant Chief, National Fire Rescue. So this project we've been working on since last fall. We had 6 or 7 firms that bid on this project. We interviewed 4 of them, and through the process, we found the company that we wanted to work with. We've had several internal scoping meetings with other city agencies to kind of gather what we want to get out of the study. As I said, we've got 8 facilities, 6 firehouses, a fire alarm dispatch center, training grounds. They are aging. The repairs of these stations are starting to really add up significantly. So this study is really going to tell us what we need for the next 20 years for capital planning, and tell us life expectancies of our systems, identify things with immediate needs. It's a very important thing for our department. Just to give you an example, stations date from 1894, 1901, 1961, 1971, and most of them have never had any significant renovations. So this study is going to help us with our immediate planning and planning for the next 20 years.
Any questions, comments? The Lake Street dispatch, What do you think there? Are there, I think I've heard there's the thought of moving dispatch out of there into another building. Or is that just nothing concrete on that at all?
Well, being 1901 build, there's certainly things we need to look at structurally. We still have equipment, a firearm division operates out of the lower level, so we have a bucket truck in there. We have a one-ton utility truck in there, and it's on a concrete floor with basement underneath. The dispatch center's on the second floor, so access to the second floor is via stairwell.
Yeah.
There's no ADA access to the second floor dispatch center of that building. And again, looking at structural stability of the building, looking at health issues, having people working 24/7 above an area where vehicles park, lead, asbestos, things like that.
Right. All right. Any other questions, comments? Alderman Thibodeau.
The only thing I had was, I take objection to anything from 1971 being considered old. Other than that,
I second that. I was born in 72, so.
All right. Is that a motion, or you just making that a comment?
Point of
All
personal
right.
privilege.
We'll note that for the record. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Govea.
In regard to clock tower, bridge design and permitting in the amount of $66,356 funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for the design and permitting of the bridge replacement between Clock Tower Place and the Nashua River with Hoyle, Tanner and Associates in the amount of $66,356. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Can I proceed? Good evening, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. DPW is assisting economic development on some of these riverfront projects now as they move into construction. So you'll see me from time to time speaking to some of these. Liz Hannum is out of the country currently. I don't know if she's online. She was going to try to join, but in an area with spotty Wi-Fi. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here to speak to this today. But what this item is there's a bridge behind Clock Tower. It's where the riverfront path crosses through that area. It's in disrepair, it needs to be replaced. It's been noted by the fire department as an issue for life safety issues. So this proposed contract here would hire an engineer to do the bridge design, to enable us to do the replacement. Get to the point basically that we'd have a replacement to bid out for construction. So I'd be happy to address any questions.
Anybody? Alderman Clemmons?
Is this the bridge that is going to connect the Riverwalk?
No.
Or is
There's
this a
a,
different bridge?
if you walk behind Clock Tower, parallel with the building, parallel with the river, you actually go over a wooden bridge over the tunnel where the water used to come from the canal, or the
Yeah.
the chute between the two buildings.
Yes, I know. I'm aware of where that is. Yep.
Anybody else?
Just thank you, because we were trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And looking at Google
why are they going to
Maps.
drive on the?
I mean, you don't notice it as a bridge, but it really is. You walk and it's asphalt or whatever, and then you're walking on wood for a while, and underneath there's an opening.
Hmm.
And that's where the water used to exit after it powered the mills. Now it doesn't exit there anymore. The canal's closed between the two rows of mill buildings, and the water exits through a pipe at the end of the canal that you see, the canal that has water in it. So it doesn't come down that far anymore. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Oh, Mr. Hudson, you might be here on the next one too. Communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for the Riverfront Pavilion roof in the amount of $333,050 funded from 54210 Construction Services / Riverfront TIF Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for the fabrication and installation services for the Riverfront Pavilion roof at the Renaissance Park with Fabrication in the amount of $333,050. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you. So this park rehabilitation includes a number of nice features. One of them is going to be this performance area. This will be a pavilion roof that's over that performance area, so shielding performers from the weather and that sort of thing. This was bid out for fabrication and erection on foundations that Moran's is putting in the ground as part of their project. I would note for the committee's information that we do have a pending change order coming. That's $3,050. That's for some additional waterproofing and rain gutter work and that sort of thing. We can bring that back to the next meeting if you'd like, because all riverfront work needs approval, or you could possibly amend this tonight to add in that amount, whatever the committee's pleasure is.
How much do you want to add?
I would add $3,050, so the total would be $336,100 if amended.
Move to amend.
Motion to amend. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So we've amended it up $3,050 from the total given on the agenda. Any other discussion on the main?
No, I'd be
motion?
happy, I'd be happy to address any questions other than
Any
that.
questions on the main motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to contract for Water Street lighting design and construction support in the amount of $38,940, funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a contract for lighting design and construction support along the Water Street between Factory Street and Main Street, including on/under the Water Street Bridge with Green International Affiliates Incorporated, in the amount of $38,940. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Green International Affiliates has been doing the lighting design for the riverfront area for the various projects that have come through, doing business as Lumen Studio. We're seeking to contract with them to design lighting as noted along Water Street and on the Water Street Bridge. We're finalizing design of a bridge rehabilitation project for the Water Street Bridge, and then also be bringing forward reconstruction of Water Street itself. There did used to be lighting historically, but it's fallen into disrepair and is no longer usable. But by hiring Green International, the lighting style and features will be similar to the other work occurring in the area. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2024 sewer rehabilitation construction administration services in the amount of $265,525, funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the engineering services contract for professional services for the sewer rehabilitation program with Hayner Swanson Incorporated in the amount of $265,525. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin / Engineering, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Bond.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you. So the engineering department and DPW manages the sewer and drainage rehabilitation throughout the city, including CCTV, pipelining, pipe and structure replacement, as well as planning, design, bidding, construction administration, field inspection. During construction, the effort's significant given the amount of sewers that we have in the city. So we require some outside support. As we have in the past, we're proposing to engage Hayner Swanson of Nashua to to assist us with that. Hayner Swanson also assists us with the paving program, so there's good coordination between the two pieces of work. This, again, they'll assist us with the design and coordination of various things. One of the primary things is with that actual in-the-field time as things get constructed, providing that oversight, because there's more than we can adequately staff through our own forces. Be happy to address any questions.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to 2024 pavement preservation in the amount of $237,474, funded from 81704 paving/bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award the construction contract for the 2024 pavement preservation program to Seal Coating Incorporated, DBA Indus of Braintree, Massachusetts, in the amount of $237,474. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund 81704, paving bond/bond.
So Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So as part of the paving program, we pave lots of roadways, as you know. But the other thing we do is we try to preserve that investment through crack sealing and other preservation treatments. This keeps our good pavements good and extends the life such that they won't need to be repaired so often. Obviously, water getting under a roadway is very damaging, as it would be getting through your roof of your house. With this contract, we intend to crack seal about 22 miles of city streets this year, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to change order number 3 for the 2022 CIPP lining program in the amount of $941,490, funded from 54210 construction services/bond. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve change order 3 to the CIPP lining program with Kenyon Pipeline Inspection LLC in the amount of $941,490. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering Fund 54210 construction services/bond.
So back in 2022, the city bid this work out. Kenyon Pipeline Inspection was the low bidder, and they completed work in 2022. We amended their contract to extend that work. We're seeking a change order to that contract. They've agreed to hold their pricing within 10% of the original bid to continue this work. With this, we would expect to probably line about another 3 miles of sewer and clean inspect, 5 to 10 miles or so of that. It's important for us to do this work, try to catch these pipes, line them before they collapse or create an issue where we have to go through the dig process of reconstruction, which is much more expensive. Be happy to address any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to software maintenance in the amount of $348,084.47, funded from 71228 computer software. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 3-year software maintenance agreement with OpenGov Incorporated in the amount of $348,084.47. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, 168 Solid Waste, and 169 Wastewater. Fund 71228 computer software.
So this is the a 3-year agreement, as noted, for the software that DPW uses to run its operations. This is where we track all of our work. We've contracted with them for a number of years, and we're just seeking to continue that contract. Be happy to address any questions.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to rectangular rapid flashing beacon and assemblies and radar feedback signs in the amount of $153,829.70. funded from 61556 traffic signal materials. I'm gonna make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of rectangular rapid flashing beacon assemblies and radar speed feedback sign assemblies from the Traffic and Parking Control Corporation in the amount of $153,829.70. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin/Engineering, Fund 61556, Traffic Signal Materials.
So this is a kind of a two-pronged approach to improving pedestrian safety throughout the city. We're seeking to purchase rectangular rapid flashing beacon assemblies. The materials, basically, they'll be installed by the street department. You're all familiar with them. They're the ones like we have out on Main Street where you push the button, you get the blinking lights. They've been shown to increase driver yielding to pedestrians by up to 80%, drawing attention to pedestrians crossing, so that improves safety. We'll address about 10 locations through this funding. The other part of this is radar speed feedback assemblies for school zones. So we're proposing to do that at 5 different schools. One has some older equipment and the others, I believe, don't have equipment currently. But again, that will provide that feedback, that visual feedback to drivers, indication, showing them to slow down during the school zone, during those periods when parents and students and teachers are arriving and departing schools. Be happy to address any questions.
Anybody? Alderman Moran.
I live in a school zone, and one of the sides has something similar that this is how fast you're going, slow down, school zone. I wish it could be more blunt, like slow the F down, because I'll tell you, people wrap around that corner at when it's flashing 20 miles an hour at like 50, trying to get onto Spickbrook to go into the highway. I hope these will help, but there's a lot of ignorant drivers out there.
Alderman Clemmons.
Where, do you know where these are gonna be placed?
Sure, so the proposal is on Ledge Street. We had done a safe routes, or actually, I think the planning commission had done a study in the Ledge Street area. We're proposing some RFBs out there, but also these feedback signs. Sunset Heights School area, Dr. Chris Fairgrounds, and the Micro Society Academy Charter School all on West Hollow Street. Those are the proposed locations. I think down in Sunset Heights there is a set, but they're quite old and older technology, and it's time to upgrade them.
And the mid-block crossings are Ledge Street, South Main Street, East Dunstable Road, and Manchester Street.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We did write in on the, a little qualifier at the end. If we have any trouble putting any in those locations, we're seeking to put them in another viable location. But yeah, those are the intended locations for those.
I hope you can all forgive my harsh language.
What?
I hope you can all forgive my harsh language.
Any further questions or discussion? Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. Did you say West Hollow Street?
Yeah, the charter school on West Hollow Street, currently, I think there's just signs for the schools on there, no feedback. We've engaged in our West Hollow Street corridor study that's underway, but in that first public listening session, we heard a lot of feedback about that school area and how dangerous it was because of the speeding cars through there. So we feel this can help, and so that's why we proposed some in that area.
May I have a follow-up?
Yes.
Would this be close to the bus stop on West Hollow Street?
Yeah, there's, again, there's speed zone signs, but it's a tricky area because you got the merge and then you got the signal, so, but the area kind of bounds from the signal just to the other side of the school where the merge is. So we'll have to pick the exact location where we think they're most appropriate once this is approved, but the intent is to provide that feedback on that corridor at that location during those peak periods for the school.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to purchase of 360-degree vehicle detection cameras in the amount of $58,859.15 funded from 61556 traffic signal materials. I'm gonna make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the sole source purchase and installation support of 3 grid-smart traffic camera systems from New England Traffic Solutions in the amount of $58,858.15. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin/Engineering Fund 61556, Traffic Signal Materials.
So this proposes to purchase 3 sets of the overhead camera systems, 2 which would be deployed, 1 will remain as a spare. We have about 35 of these systems out there currently, and when we have an issue with one, we really need a spare on the shelf so we can help troubleshoot or replace it till it gets repaired. But these are the downward-facing cameras. They have a fisheye lens, sees in every direction. We can draw on the detection zones in the system, and then that's what it uses for detection. We found that to be far superior to the loops in the ground. Loops in the ground get cut by utilities, occasionally fail, susceptible to water damage, that sort of thing. So these cameras systems have proven very valuable. They also provide us the ability to continually count traffic, so and remotely, check into an intersection and see what's going on if we get a complaint. So they've been a really good feature and have served us well. We're proposing to add these 2 cameras, one at Riverside at West Hollis. That intersection, very busy intersection with the school down there, and we have had some ghosts in the machine, so to speak, with recurring issues with detection there and some long delays. The other one we're intending to put out on Bridge Street at East Hollis. We have a project going on over there, which with the bridge rehabilitation project, so we need the ability to be able to manage traffic in that area during that project. And as I said, another system will be used as a spare. So these cameras, we had a question, I think, at Board of Public Works. These cameras are the quality is intentionally dumbed down, so we can't read license plates, we can't see faces. It's purely used for vehicle detection. We don't record the video, so that hopefully that helps address some of the residents' concerns about privacy and that sort of thing. Be happy to address any questions.
Anybody? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Govea.
In regard to professional engineering services in the amount of $39,534.29, funded from 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Bond and Grant. I'm going to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve an amendment to the engineering services contract for the Walnut Street Oval intersection project with Hoyle Tanner and Associate Incorporated in the amount of $39,534.29. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin /Engineering, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Bond and Grant.
So we're currently engaged in the Walnut Street Oval, well, I say study, but it's a study and design. We're moving that project forward to ultimately to construction. Hoyle Tanner is the engineer. As we develop various alternatives, proposed changes in the area, we need to evaluate those to see how those will fare, how traffic will fare under those. You're all familiar, VHB had completed downtown circulation study in 2015 and then recently updated it. As we develop these concepts, we want to engage them, build upon what they've done to date to help us evaluate various changes. So that's what this is to bring VHB in as a sub-consultant to Hoyle Tanner to help us through some of that analysis. We're developing those alternatives. We've had one public meeting to date, the initial blank plan meeting, so to speak, but we're looking to probably late this summer to get back into a second meeting with some proposed changes for public consideration. I'd be happy to address any questions.
I don't see anything. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is a communication from William Mansfield, Radio Systems Manager. If there is no objection, we will accept that communication and place it on file. And we will move on to unfinished business resolutions. R24-026. Alderman Govea.
R24-026, authorizing a second amendment to the site lease agreement with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC. successor by merger to AT&T Wireless PCS LLC regarding the communication tower located at 67 Amherst Street. I'm going to make a motion to recommend final passage.
And Mr. Mansfield has stayed, very patient. You want to give us the details?
Bill Mansfield, Radio Systems Manager for the City of Nashua. So we've negotiated a contract with, is it AT&T on this one? There's too many contracts. With AT&T. This has been going on for about 3 years. I requested that an amendment be made to the resolution regarding the dollar amount that was in there, because of the fact that over the 3 years, there were no adjustments made to increase the rent from 3 years ago. So we caught that when it went to the Board of Public Works, and then it was readjusted. AT&T agreed to the new fee, which is $39.32.36 per month, that they're currently paying now. The contract actually expired in October of last year, so they have continued to pay, so we haven't lost any funds. So the fee would be $39.32.36, and then it would increase by 3% this October and every year annually after that. So that's the main changes that were made to the contract itself.
So you're asking to amend the lease basically to increase the monthly fee, in essence, from what the lease previously said?
So, correct. So, I'm not sure if you were sent the copy of the lease or not.
I think there is part of the packet, yes.
So it's a red line lease. I have actually a clean copy of it up here. So it's basically amending the lease in its entirety, I guess, and replacing it with a new lease.
Okay, but the effect of it is to increase the monthly fee?
Correct.
All right, any discussion? Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we get any cost sharing from the wireless company? And I asked that because I'm familiar with American Tower, which that's their wheelhouse. They lease these to like AT&T and wherever whom they charge rent to, plus they get cost sharing revenues of money they earn through the towers themselves. Is there anything like that in this?
So the city owns the tower.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one carrier on that tower. All of the funds that are collected from this particular lease end up going into, I don't know if it's an enterprise fund or a trust fund, which is basically, for this particular one, goes directly to Home and Stadium. So that's where the funding goes for that. As far as cost sharing, I'm not familiar with how that would really work with us. I know that we do have another, one of our other towers at the landfill, that's owned actually by Crown Castle. They charge the lease amounts on that particular tower. We collect 20% of that, so that's our cost sharing at that particular site. So, but we don't do it at the majority of the sites. We have one over at the Hudson Bridge. It's the same thing. The primary carrier, which is, I'm not even, SAI, I think that's the primary carrier. They pay a rent. Anything more than that on that tower, we get 20% of that as well. So, but most of our towers, we get all the funds, so.
But just from the rent?
Correct, the
piece.
rent and the taxes.
Okay. Might be something just in the future contracts that there is some kind of mechanism where there's revenue generated from those towers beyond just the lease that they pay towards, and I know they did this with 71 Spitbrook, my old office building. The landlord, Jerry, who owns also those apartments there, told me that he's getting the lease rent plus whatever revenue they generate using the tower. I don't know the details, but I also have heard that from American Tower as well.
I'll definitely have to
It's
look
like a
into that, because I
commission
haven't
of
heard
some
of
kind.
that, so I will look into that.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Do we,
Alderman Clemmons?
do we need to amend this resolution, or is this resolution already?
No, because the resolution creates,
Oh, okay, yeah.
authorizes the amendment.
Okay.
Anyone else? Did you have anything? All right, all those in favor of the motion to recommend final passage, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, tabled in committee, we don't have anything. New business resolutions and ordinances, there's nothing. Record of expenditures, Alderman Govea.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee has compiled a city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the periods of April 26, 2024 to May 9, 2024, and May 10, 2024 to May 30, 2024.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion, any general discussion?
General discussion.
Yes, Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. This past whole year, I was gonna say a week, but it's been really bad the whole year. I've been involved in a lot of things. And I did go to the firefighters' graduation Friday, this past Friday, and we have 14 new firefighters. And it was really a nice ceremony, and thank you, Chief Buxton, but that was my first time going to that graduation. So I was happy I did that.
All right.
I miss you.
Pardon?
You wasn't there, but anyway, that was one of the things I went to. I also did, today was really busy as well. I went to the Girls Inc. breakfast, and the Girl Inc. is 50 years, and they do a fantastic job, and unfortunately, while we're there at breakfast, the water started coming down from the ceiling. It's like everybody looking, and fortunately, we were not in the way of the water, but I took pictures of the water coming down from the ceiling. It came from the air conditioner, so they had to put pails there, no garbage bins there. That's how fast that water was coming down. So, but other than that, the breakfast was really nice, and congratulations to all our young girls in the city that really need Girls Club and Girls Inc. It's a fabulous organization, and I was very proud of them. I was also proud of Jaretta Copeland. Jaretta Copeland been with the Girls Club volunteering over 60 years. So she's got me beat by a lot of years. And after that, I went to the Board of Health meeting, and then the Taste of Downtown. Again, another incident that happened downtown at PGR. As you walk out, that window got broken. And I happened to be right there. This guy just was screaming and yelling and broke the window. So the police was there when I was coming in. That's why I was a little late. And I want you guys, if possible, to pray for Alderman O'Brien and Trish Clay, Alderman Clay, husband as well. They both in the hospital. So that's what I have to say.
All right,
Been
thank you.
very, very busy. I mean, extremely. I'm tired. My knees are bad, and I am so burnt out. It's unbelievable. But anyway, that's it.
All right. Any other general discussion? Public comment. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the committee? Remarks by Alderman. Any remarks by Alderman? Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add on to Alderwoman Timmons regarding Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Clee's husband Dick, and also all the aldermen and mayor for everyone who's having a sick spouse or family member. It seems like that is a shared trait among the board and the city right now. So I wish everyone well and best of luck, because sometimes that's all you need. Also, I attended the COC meeting this morning, which is Continue of Care. I encourage everyone to at least attend once, except in July. They don't attend. They don't have a meeting in July, but it's at 9 in the morning on the first Wednesday of the month, up on the 3rd floor. You just learn about what the capacity is in the community from the nonprofits regarding everything from shelter to emergency, domestic violence beds, et cetera, and what they're working on through their collaboration here in the city and throughout the state. And I did invite many of the organizations. They had a lot of conversation about what the city can do in regards to zoning and rezoning and legislation, and I asked them to feel free to come to Planning and Economic Development and speak to us, because sometimes you have to remind folks that there's two branches of government. You can talk to both sides to get some resolutions instead of having the mayor handle every little thing, spread out the wealth, right? But other than that, that's all the comments I have.
Can I add one more comment?
Alderwoman Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Health is not having a meeting either in July, so
They're not meeting in July.
they're not meeting in July.
All right, any other remarks by Alderman? If not, I will look to Alderman Clemmons.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 8:01 PM.